just wanted to talk about something called the freeze response. And the reason I want to talk about it is I'm coming across it more and more with clients, and I think it's something that's really not very well known in terms of it being a response to anxiety, stress and trauma. And people don't recognise it as such, and because they don't recognise it as such, they therefore don't know how to manage it, deal with it, what to do to help themselves. So I just wanted to talk a little bit about like what's going on, and if you're experiencing this, what it feels like, what it looks like, and then what you can do to move through that. So the freeze response is a normal response to a threat. And if I just talk a little bit about this thing called, it's called the defense cascade. So when our body is under threat, the first thing our body will do is it will release fear chemicals, so adrenaline, cortisol mainly, into the body. And that's to allow us to firstly try to escape the threat. So that's the first thing, we have this release of hormones to allow us to try to escape the threat. So this is the fight or flight response that you might be familiar with. So fight and flight enable us to either fight the attacker, the perceived threat, or to run away from the perceived threat. Now, if that doesn't work, our body will then move us to the next stage of the defense cascade. And this is all in aid of keeping us alive, basically. So first stage doesn't work, we go to stage 2. And stage 2 is basically just a ramp up of stage 1. So let's release more chemicals, see if we can really fight off this attacker, or we can run a bit faster. Stage 2. And then stage 3, if that doesn't work, we go into this sort of freeze response. So if you think, the easiest way to think of this is to think about an animal, when an animal can be under attack. And if you've seen an animal will just stay completely still, this is the freeze response, and we have exactly the same response. So the fight and the flight hasn't worked. So our next way of trying to keep ourselves safe, our bodies safe, is to actually freeze and hope that the predator will then leave us alone. And then if that doesn't work, there's actually a further response to that, which I have seen in clients, which is to actually pass out. And this is, it's quite serious, because basically what the body's saying is, I haven't been able to escape the threat. So my only way of protecting myself is to actually make myself unconscious, so that whatever's going to happen to me will happen. And then if I'm still alive, I will come back round and deal with that afterwards. So if you are experiencing like a numbness, a feeling of being very distracted from your environment or the world, an inability to connect with yourself or to connect with other people, that's that sort of stage 3, that's the freeze. And then some people that have seen me have got to this point where they actually are physically passing out or feeling like they're going to pass out. And that's this final stage where the body's actually instigating this extreme freeze response. And what happens is, if we've experienced traumatic incident and the body's been pushed to this freeze response in the traumatic incident, we will stay, and we're unable to actually complete the cycle. We will stay in that response going forward. So often, something that's not now life-threatening will force us into this freeze response. And basically the way that you can actually get out of this is, first of all, is to recognise that this is happening. So the first stage is recognising what's going on. And then the second stage is you can practice some techniques that will enable your body to come back to a calm place and to actually control that response. So this response happens when the conscious brain is clamping down on the fear response and causing us to actually go into freeze. So we can strengthen the conscious brain response by things like mindfulness and meditation. And that will help us get a grip of that unconscious response a lot quicker and to interrupt it. So I hope that helps. If you have any questions or you are experiencing this response, you sometimes do need some help to get out of this. So if you would like to PM me, I can jump on a call with you and we can talk about how we can work together to get you through this. But I just wanted to bring this to people's attention because it really isn't very well known at the moment.